You know that feeling when you finally buy a car, and for about 2 weeks, life feels lighter, like you've unlocked something. Freedom, independence, respect, and then, slowly, quietly, that same car starts stressing you out. The payment hits. Fuel prices jump. Insurance renews. A weird sound comes from the engine, and your stomach drops. Have you ever wondered how something that was supposed to free you somehow ends up controlling you? Because here's the brutal truth most people never stop to think about. For millions of people, their car isn't transportation. It's the single biggest reason they stay broke. Most people think, I need a good car to get ahead. But what they're missing is that the wrong car doesn't just slow you down. It actively pulls you backward. And you should care about this right now, not later. Because every single month you keep making the wrong car decision, the math quietly stacks against you. Not dramatically, not loudly, but relentlessly. My name is John, and I'm borderline obsessed with understanding why normal, hardworking people do everything right and still feel stuck financially. If you're someone who works hard, makes decent money, and still feels like your bank account never breathes, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you've ever felt buyer's remorse every time you look at your car payment, give this video a thumbs up, because what we're about to break down might change how you see money forever. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Cars are emotional. They're not logical purchases. They're identity purchases. Before we dive into numbers, let me ask you something. When you bought your car, were you thinking about where you'd be financially 5 years later? Or were you thinking about how it would feel to drive it home that first night? Exactly. That's not a flaw in you. That's your brain doing what it's wired to do. There's a specific threshold where a car stops being a tool and starts becoming a liability. And most people cross it without realizing it. Think of it like this. A hammer helps you build a house. But if the hammer costs so much that you can't afford wood, nails, or time, the hammer isn't helping anymore. It's sabotaging the build. Before we go any deeper, let me ask you something else. What percentage of your monthly income goes toward your car? Not just the payment. Everything. Payment, insurance, fuel, maintenance, repairs, registration. Because here's where it gets interesting. Most people only count the payment, and that's the first mistake. Let's walk through a real example. Say you earn $4,000 a month after tax. Sounds decent, right? Now, let's say your car payment is $600. Insurance is $180. Fuel is $250. Maintenance averaged out is another $120. That's $1,150 a month. That's 28.75% of your income. And economists, which is just a fancy way of saying people who study why money disappears, say anything over 15% is dangerous. This is where the math gets absolutely ridiculous. Because that $1,150 isn't just money you're spending. It's money you're not using to build leverage. Let me show you exactly how this works. If instead of overspending on a car, you invested just $500 a month at a conservative 7% return, in 10 years, you'd have around $83,000. In 20 years, over $260,000. Meanwhile, your car, worth maybe $6,000. If it still runs. Here's the kicker. Your brain doesn't feel this loss in real time. Psychologists call this present bias, which is just a fancy way of saying your brain heavily overvalues now and completely underestimates later. That leather interior feels amazing today. The future consequences feel imaginary. This creates what I call the comfort trap. You upgrade the car to feel successful, but the payment quietly prevents you from ever becoming successful. Here's where it gets even more fascinating. Meet Sarah. Sarah makes $70,000 a year. She buys a brand new SUV for $52,000 because she deserves it. Meanwhile, her friend Mike makes $55,000 a year. He drives a paid-off 10-year-old sedan. 5 years later, Sarah feels stuck. She can't save. She's stressed. She's always one expense away from panic. Mike, he's investing. He has options. He sleeps better. The difference wasn't income. It was car math. Now, you might be thinking, okay, John, but I need a reliable car. I know. Everyone says that. But here's what nobody talks about. Reliability doesn't scale linearly with price. A $50,000 car isn't 5 times more reliable than a $10,000 one. It's just 5 times more expensive. This is where most people completely mess this up. They confuse status reliability with mechanical reliability. Your brain likes the idea of new, safe, approved, but the data shows something wild. The steepest appreciation happens in the first 3 years. That's not an accident. It's a transfer of wealth from buyer to manufacturer. Meanwhile, cars between 5 and 10 years old often sit in the reliability sweet spot. Cheaper, proven, depreciation slowed. Here's the brutal truth. Car companies don't sell transportation. They sell emotion financed over time. And they're very good at it. Only $699 a month. Low APR. Just sign here. They never say, this decision delays your financial independence by a decade. Now let's talk about something even more insane. Opportunity cost. Let's say your car upgrade costs you an extra $400 a month compared to a modest option. That's $4,800 a year. $48,000 over 10 years without investing. If invested, that number explodes. This is where your future self starts screaming. But you can't hear them yet. Because right now the car smells new. I know what you're thinking. This sounds restrictive. Like you're supposed to suffer forever. But here's the beautiful part. This isn't about deprivation. It's about timing. There are 3 phases people go through. Phase 1. Impress people you don't know. Phase 2. Impress people you don't like. Phase 3. Impress yourself by owning your time. Cars keep people stuck in Phase 1. Here's where the math gets even more painful. High car costs don't just drain money. They force bad decisions elsewhere. You skip investing. You delay emergencies. You use credit cards to breathe. And suddenly the car isn't freedom. It's the reason you can't quit a bad job, can't move cities, can't take risks. Now imagine this. You wake up tomorrow with no car payment. That $700 stays in your account every month. Suddenly, things change. Your stress drops. Your options expand. Your patience increases. Neuroscientists have studied this extensively. Financial pressure literally reduces cognitive bandwidth, which is just a scientific way of saying being broke makes you worse at decisions. So the car doesn't just take money. It takes clarity. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what if I already bought the car? Good question. This is where most people either get defensive or get smart. Step 1. Face the full cost honestly, not emotionally, numerically. Step 2. Ask one brutal question. Is this helping or hurting my future leverage? Step 3. Decide if short-term ego is worth long-term stress. I know, that's uncomfortable, but average behavior feels comfortable and produces average outcomes. Optimal behavior feels awkward and produces freedom. So there you have it. When a car becomes a liability instead of freedom, it's not because you're irresponsible. It's because nobody taught you to see the invisible math. Your car should serve your life, not silently tax it. And the choice is yours. You can keep feeding a machine that profits from your impatience. Or you can build a future that your older self will thank you for. Your future self is counting on the decision you make next. Right now,